So in this podcast, I want to talk about the law of attraction, but I want to reverse engineer the law of attraction because a lot of people, most people, think about manifesting or the law of attraction as something that they can use to attract something, like something that they're missing. But if you think about it, like everything in the universe has got an opposite. In order for left to exist, right has to exist, right? In order for up to exist, down has to exist. In order for poverty to exist, money to exist, poverty has to exist, right? So I want to reverse engineer this and speak about the opposite that you are currently attracting into your life that you don't want, and why you are doing that, and how you can reverse that, how you can change that. Because if you want to manifest money into your life, then currently you are manifesting and you are attracting the lack thereof, or poverty, or whatever. If you want to manifest a person, like romantically, or whatever you want to manifest into your life, it means that you are currently attracting emptiness into your life, right? And I want to talk about how you can get rid of that, rather. And then the natural stuff, the stuff will naturally just flow to you. The money will flow to you. If you detach from the poverty, if you unattract, almost, I don't know if that's a word, but if you unattract poverty or lack of money, then naturally money has to come into your life, right? Because it needs to be filled with the opposite. So if you think about if you are if you take left, like my previous example, if you take left, in order to go right, you need to get rid of left, right? So you have to move on the scale or the spectrum. You have to move towards the right, and the more you move towards the right, the less left you are, right? So that's just an example with like the two sides. So I came about this idea over the weekend because I watched an episode on Dr. Phil about a person, a woman that was being stalked by this guy that she met a few months ago. And she met this guy at a party or something, and they exchanged numbers, thought it was a good guy, and then this guy started stalking this person. And this person, they had gotten restraining orders. The stalker was ended up getting locked up and all of those things, but it still persisted. Like the stalking didn't stop. So even from prison, this person kept on writing like unwanted letters and like making threats and all of these things. So I want to talk about that. Like, how do you unattract that? Because that's clearly something that person, the victim, didn't want, right? So she doesn't want it. So how does she unattract that? How do you unattract the poverty or the lack of money or the lack of relationship, the emptiness? How do you unattract that, right? So if you think about it, everything, as I said, everything has an opposite, right? So if you think about a bully can only exist if a victim exists, right? You've never heard of two bullies bullying each other, right? So if the victim ceases to exist, that bully needs to move on to the next victim, because it just cannot exist. That energy is not drawn to one another. It's like negative and positive magnets that attracts each other, right? And two positives push each other away. And that's how life works. That's how the universe works, right? So why, if you think about it, if you kind of decipher it and unravel it, why does that person end up getting stalked? So you might not be struggling with like somebody stalking you, and I don't think there's a lot of people that, I don't think it's that like popular, but why did the stalker end up stalking that lady and not his neighbor, not a friend, not me, not you, not anybody else? And I'm not saying that he's never stalked anybody else before. I'm just saying that why specifically that person? And the reason for that is because that person, like, it's all happening on a subconscious or unconscious level. That person, the victim, that lady, had the profile, or she still has, I don't know if it's stopped or not, but that person has the profile that stalker is looking for, right? So unconsciously, that stalker is looking for that victim that fits that profile, that presents the characteristics that a stalker would be looking for, and found it. found it in that woman. And money works the same way, or poverty works the same way. Poverty is looking, like money is looking for a certain individual, certain profile or portfolio to be attracted to. The lack of money is also looking for a specific profile that it will be attracted to. So that person ended up, like I said, like getting restraining orders and all of those things, but it didn't work. And why is that? Because internally that person didn't change. So nothing changed. That person, that woman, still maintained that same profile that stalker was attracted to on an unconscious level. So if you want to, if she wanted to get rid of that, what needed to happen, or what has to happen? That person needs to become almost the profile that is not a victim. So I know that I'm not going to get stalked by this guy because I'm confident that I will know how to deal with that, and I will not accept that, and I will just take care of that. I will fix the problem, right? Now, that lady also said that she lives in constant fear. She's anxious about it. She secludes herself in her home. She doesn't want to go anywhere. She has the curtains drawn every single day because she's afraid that he might be outside looking into her house. So she's living with this constant fear and anxiety about this case. Yet she's continuing to attract these things. So whenever she opens up a message or reads mail or whatever, she's afraid that it might be from this person, even though she knows that physically is locked up. She anticipates like engaging and interacting or getting some form of engagement from this person, and what ends up happening is exactly that, right? And so the key part here is not being confident in yourself. Confidence is a key indicator that you are on the correct frequency, the right frequency of attracting the good into your life. If you are confident about doing a certain job, then you'll get offers like left and right from companies or whatever, right? To get you to do that job for them because you're confident in what you do. If you think about an actor, like an acting career, they had to go through like a bunch of rejection and failures before they built up that confidence, where now they sit at home. I'm talking about like the big actors and stuff. They sit at home and producers are contacting them to use them in movies, right? And it's because they know they're good. They know they're confident. They don't attract that lack because of that anxiety and that fear. And that's an indicator for me. And I mean, that's just, I'm explaining like law of attraction on a very practical way. I mean, I've read this morning on Facebook, I read that some people, there's now a trend where you put 9 lemons or oranges or some form of fruit into a basket and you put it in your kitchen, and then all of a sudden a bunch of money shows up. Now, I'm not disputing that. I'm not saying that it's not true because I haven't tried that specific method. But if that like works for you, if it makes sense to you, and whatever floats your boat, go for it. Like, do it. But from what I say is that I've tried a bunch of techniques. I've tried crystals, the 2 cups of water, and all of those techniques like throughout the last 17 years. And what I've arrived at is the conclusion that there's still like certain elements to the law of attraction. I still believe in it, and that's why I'm speaking about it. But I'm trying to explain it in a more practical way, something that I found works for me and that makes sense to me, right? So you need to become confident in your ability to generate money. If money is something that you want, right, and you don't have it, you attracting the lack of financial lack into your life. It's because you don't have confidence in your ability to hold on to money, to save money, to generate money, and all of those things. You don't have the confidence. If I come up to you, if I come up to you and I say to you, okay, can you generate money for me tomorrow? And if you have to be honest with yourself, you'd most probably say, well, no, not really, except from going to work and waiting for my paycheck at the end of the month. Or if I say to you, if you lose everything today, can you make it up? Can you make it back? Or can you hold on to it? Like, can you prove to me that you know how to really build wealth? And a lot of people would say, but if you just give me money, then that's wealth. But that's not really wealth, right? Wealth is, money is just a currency. Money is just a trading language, basically, that people use. But wealth is your ability to generate something out of energy that you expel. So if you're not confident, then that means that you're on the opposite of money, of that thing that you want, on the opposite frequency, which might be poverty or the lack of money. Same with the relationship. So if I say to you, if you are single today, can you get a partner tomorrow, today, anytime that you choose? And first of all, if you are single but you desperately want, if you're single by choice, then that's fine. Then you don't fall into this category. But if you want to attract some like form of relationship or some person into your life, and you can't currently do that, then that just means that you don't know how, and that means you're not confident in your ability to do that, right? So the only way for me, how law of attraction works is, how the law of vibration works is, you need to get on that frequency, right? And the only way you get onto that frequency is by building up the confidence. And that's why people connect to this idea of the law of attraction, because it means they can bypass all of the hardships, the difficulties, the stumbling blocks on their journey towards that one thing that they want. And that's not realistic. That's not how the law works. The law works by giving you whatever you are confident in, right? So if you want to get the money, right, you need to move towards that one thing. But you need to assume a different profile than the lack. So what that means is that you might fit the profile of somebody that doesn't have money, or that's struggling with like poverty or whatever, like lack in general. And that might be like, you might have characteristics, like a few characteristics that might be associated with that. And one like a few things that I know is associated, that because I've experienced it in my life before, is if you play the blame game and you blame everybody else, you blame your parents or your upbringing, the lack of opportunities, you blame the government, and you just generally don't accept that responsibility that it is all you, and you say, yes, but it's because I grew up in a poor home, or I grew up in an abusive home, or because of like government, there's not enough jobs, or whatever the reason might be. You are blaming something outside of you. That means that you're not changing inside of you. So that is one of the characteristics that might be associated with your lack. Another thing that I know that's applied to my life is, if you are an impatient person. So if you are impatient, that means that, first of all, you're not willing to wait. You're not willing to go through the obstacles and the lessons that you need to learn in order to become a different profile. So, and I'm speaking from my own experiences. I've tried so many different business ideas because at a point I was financially poor almost, and well, not poor, but I didn't have what I wanted, right? So I was experiencing financial lack, and I wanted it so badly. That was one of the characteristics that I had. I wanted it so badly that I would try something, try it for a week or try it for a month, then I'll encounter the first stumbling block or first obstacle, and then I'll give up. Then I'll move on to the next idea and the next idea and the next. So that is a characteristic, one of the characteristics that I've seen in my own life that's associated with the lack of opportunities, the lack of money. So it might be that. It might be a number of different characteristics that your profile assumes at the moment, and that's why that lack is drawn to you. So in order for you to get rid of that lack, you should change your profile. And to change that profile is building up your confidence. So if I just go back to the stalking example, why am I not getting stalked? It's because I've got confidence that I will not lock myself in my house. I will not keep the curtains drawn. What I will do is, most probably, I'm not saying this that I'm all great. I'm just saying that I don't have that. I've got the confidence that I know that I will be able to deal with the situation that comes up. I would most probably confront the person and get in their face to face, and not try to get away from that as much as possible by getting certain things done. And I'm not saying that you should like confront somebody in like a violent way or something. I'm just saying that you need to be able to confront that difficulty, and that's when you build up confidence. That's when you look that problem in the eye and you see that it's actually not as big as you thought. Because if you cower away, almost, if you hide behind the curtains, the house, the authorities, or whatever, right? Then it means that, so I'm not saying don't get the authorities involved in like such a case, but I'm just saying that internally you need to know that you're confident in order to deal with certain stuff. And in most cases, if you assume that certain profile, it means that you're not confident. You can't just get that confidence. You need to confront that one thing, or that 10 things, or multiple things. So if you want to manifest money, you need to first manifest or unmanifest the poverty. In order to do that, you need to be confident in your ability to generate wealth, to hold on to wealth, to build that wealth. And in order to do that, you need to try different things, and you need to fail. You need to fail a million times, and you need to allow yourself an infinite amount of time in order to grow to the profile, or into the profile that's actually going to unattract the poverty. So the take home, if you're still watching this video, the take home that I want to just leave you with is, first of all, like just the summary, is that if you're attracting the bad things into your life, the lack of relationships, lack of money, lack of whatever, lack of health even, then you assume a certain profile. You need to get rid of that profile. You need to become a different profile. You need to become the profile of a person that's not attracting those bad things into their lives. And in order to do that, you need to, first of all, confront whatever's holding you there, whatever making you anxious. Like people that's struggling financially, that cannot attain wealth or build it or hold on to it. If you delve deeper into what they are anxious about, what scares them, it's always like the end of the month. It's always their rent that needs to be paid. It's always the banks, the credit card companies that are phoning them. It's always the government that wants their share of their income. It's all of those things. But in most cases, it just gets worse because people ignore those things. They ignore the credit card debt. They ignore the taxes they need to pay, and all of those things. I mean, I've been exactly at that exact same point. But as soon as you start addressing that, as soon as you start facing those things, then you start building the confidence in your ability to actually face that. And then you start realizing that that is actually not that big of a deal. It's not that difficult to get out of that. It's not that difficult to get out of debt, right? And as soon as you do that, you build up that confidence, you learn certain lessons. And it might take a year, it might take 10 years. You don't know, but you shouldn't put a label on it. You shouldn't put a timeline on it and say it needs to happen before the end of the month. Because then what you're saying essentially is that you're not willing to learn all the lessons that need to be learned in order to assume a different profile. So you need to give it time. You need to be able to confront that fear, confront that anxiety, face that thing that scares you, and just work towards it, work against it, and just face it head on. And as you build the confidence, then you'll move onto the right frequency of not being, or a different frequency that's not aligned with poverty or the lack of whatever it is, or that bad thing, that stalker, or that whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's basically the message that I want to leave you with. So if you've watched until now, thank you very much. I think in the next video, I want to talk about health in general, why people are experiencing health problems, why they're experiencing overweight. I think I've made a video before on how you can get rid of like being overweight using the law of attraction. I'm going to just focus on more like general health. People are experiencing all kinds of different illnesses or whatever they might be struggling with. So I'll do a little bit of research, and then I'll give my own examples and my own, because I've also struggled with health and stuff in the past. And I'll give my own theories on how to address that. But I think the overall idea that I want to leave you with is not to focus so much on the things that you want to attract, the money, the relationships, but rather focus on the things that you want to unattract from your life: the lack of money, the lack of relationships, the lack of love, the lack of health, and all of those things. Because if you tackle it at the core, because if you think of the money that you want, that's something outside of you. But if you think about the lack that you're experiencing, that's inwards. That's internally. That's what you're experiencing right now at this moment. And then you get a new perspective of how to get rid of that thing that I'm currently attracting, that I'm currently experiencing in my life. So I think that's a bit of a better approach. Because if you just think of something outside of you, I want to attract that money, you ignore what you are struggling internally with. You ignore the internal thoughts, the thought patterns and processes that's happening internally, and you don't change. If you don't change, then obviously you're not going to attract the money or whatever. So thank you again for watching. If you're still watching, I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video. All the best.